Hey, we're live, Molly. All right. So this is Molly, my understudy, and we're just going to wait for Leo. Oh, look, there he is. We're going to get him to join. Ooh. Let's see here. You. Waiting for Leo. Think it's working. Oh, connecting. Hey!
Hi, Tia.
How's it going?
Oh my gosh, it's good. How are you?
We're great. This is Molly. She's my understudy.
Hi, Molly. How are you?
Good, how are you?
You're an understudy. That's an important job.
Molly's 11. She's my daughter.
Molly, I love it. Does Molly know how we know each other?
Do you know how we know each other?
A little?
No, I don't think so. I think I didn't
No.
feel it.
Your mom and I, we did 42nd Street together in another country.
In
Oh,
Russia.
I think I
Yeah,
know that.
you've heard
Yes,
about that.
you know.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
I love it. Can you believe that? That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2002, so like 18 years.
You are correct.
It's amazing we
was,
look exactly the same though.
Yeah, it was the same year that I had graduated college, and it was in the fall, so I remember it well.
Well, it was like your first job out the gate.
Yeah, it was. It was a very and a lot of people didn't think I should do it.
Oh yeah.
Because people were like, Leo, you just got to New York City. Why would you leave and go do 42nd Street? And I'm like, why would I not? I get to go to Russia. I get to go to
Adventure.
Yeah, I was like, I'm 50% Russian. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Like a bunch of people got offered the contract in Toronto and were like, no. And I was like, I'll go. Sure,
Right.
Sounds like fun.
Right. Yeah. No. Oh God. I mean, I just wish that my one regret, and I guess I couldn't control this, is because I was so young, I didn't fully appreciate it, because I can remember we were going, like, I went to McDonald's on Fridays.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You know?
I feel the same way. Like I was 22. So it was like an adventure, but I was scared. Like there's a lot of stuff I did that now I would be like, that's crazy. Why did I do that? And then a lot of stuff that I'm like, I should have done that while I was there.
I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah. I know.
Cool. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, just what you're doing now and how you got there, just a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been a professional actor now in the city for, I think, close to 17 years. I went to school for musical theater. I was at Carnegie Mellon, that's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then pretty quickly started working. 42nd Street was my first professional job. And then over the years, in addition to all of my stage performing, I started to incorporate other areas of the arts into my life too. I started to career coach for professional actors a couple of years after 42nd Street was over. People would always ask me, gosh, Leo, you work all the time. Do you have some kind of secret, some kind of trick? And I'm like, no, I just kind of, keep my hustle mentality. And I guess I was kind of developing tools for myself that I was utilizing, and I started to share with actors, and they really liked it. So then I started to coach them. And then I was recruited, and I joined a team called Musical Theater College Auditions, MTCA, and I was a monologue coach. And that helped high school kids get into college for musical theater and acting, because that's super competitive now these days.
Yeah, so competitive.
Yeah. And then I ended up, kind of moving up in the ladder, and I was an assistant director, and then a co-director, and now I'm a co-owner and director of the team. And I love it. It's so rewarding to help high school kids, pursue their dreams. It's kind of a mission of mine that it was something I was fortunate enough to get to do, and it's really given me the foundation to, pursue and sustain a successful career performing. So I always want to, pass that on to others that are hungry in the same way I was. And I built in voiceovers into my career too. In 2012, I signed with a really good agency here in New York, and I do a lot of voiceover, commercial copy, radio.
Do you want to explain a little bit? Because I feel like some of our kids maybe don't really understand what voiceover work would be like. So
yeah. Voiceover work is fun, you guys, because like literally you get to literally have a big mic. Like, in fact, here, I'll show you guys. This is my big mic that I record, and this goes into my laptop. And then I use like a makeshift studio, like in my apartment. It's actually in my bathroom, and I have a lot of soft wall around me and I have a towel that goes over here. So it
Super high
creates,
tech.
yeah, a lot of voiceover artists will have like real studios. I want to do like that next step soon, but it's a really great way to just kind of have another area of the arts, and it's super intimate. It's just you and the mic. So it's really fun that you get to really feel like you're experiencing a very trying to think what the word is. It's just a very, it's an intimate experience between you and the copy. The engineer is even in another studio. And, so like when you guys when you see a commercial on TV, I'll be like, the tagline, or I'll be the script. Everything is different, but from copy to copy, but it's super fun.
So you would be like the voiceover when like you're watching a commercial or something, and then there's like a voiceover. That's the kind of voiceover work.
Yeah, that's exactly
those little
right.
jobs that I don't think young people think of as like an integral part of an actor's career.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's so important, especially in a time like this where, now you have a hit to your regular stage work. When you have other areas of the arts that you are successful in, it only just broadens, it widens the net of areas that you can catch and receive work. And of course, work then means employment and money. So,
yeah.
It feels really good. People will say to me, like in the times that I've had Broadway shows in my career, oh gosh, does that mean no more coaching? And I always, quickly kind of counter that and say, no, I readjust my schedule, but I love the coaching. The coaching helps my performing, and then the performing in turn helps my coaching. So it really works both ways.
That's awesome. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about how the prep for college audition coaching process works?
Sure. It's a very competitive field where not only are you, of course, having to have a wide net of the amount of schools that you audition for, but the application process is really hard. You actually have to record yourself essentially doing an audition on video that they view as a filter, and whether it's called a pre-screen. And then if they're passing and they're interested in you, then you get to set up an appointment. If you get rejected from your pre-screen, you're out. And that's the
This is something new for us in Canada. Like the top colleges in Canada just started doing this. And so I'm interested in knowing what you recommend to get that video to catch their attention.
The most important thing in a competitive pre-screen is that you are artistically strong with your material, that you are good in what you do. It's not what is your background or your lighting, or it's not, are you doing something slick and cute and special? It's not that. The schools are very simple in their needs. They want to see competitive talent. They want to see versatile talent. So the more competitive you can be in multiple disciplines. So if you're pursuing musical theater, the singing and the acting and the dance, I often tell my young students that I start to work with early. I work with students as early as freshman and sophomore year now. Run towards your
That was one of my questions. How soon? Because as a dance school owner, my husband and he teaches singing, and people will often come to us in grade 11 and 12 and say, I'm thinking this. And we go, with 3 months.
Yeah, right. That's a whole different trajectory that if you're trying to squeeze something in 3 to 4 months, if you think of it this way, students, think of it like cramming for a test. You may get some answers right, just like you may cram a pre-screen and get some of it as good, maybe to your areas that you're already good at and strong at. But for the areas that are weaker, you just shortchanged yourself. You now don't have the time. When you have time on your side, the future is endless. I mean, and I think sometimes, young students, they just project a narrative that isn't true, that, well, I'll never be a dancer. I'll never be a singer the way that, my friend is over there. And it's the wrong mentality. Schools are not looking for perfection. They're not looking for a polished, finished product. They want to see someone who has the capability and the availability to get better. That's what you go to school for. So it's the potential.
And by availability, you mean like willingness to work. And is that what you mean by availability?
Yeah, availability, like that there's an openness to you. If you're presenting a pre-screen, or if you're presenting even a live audition, that everything is planned out. You dot all the I's, you cross all the T's, you control your audition. A controlled audition is a bad audition.
Yeah.
A good audition is something where you're so free with yourself and then your material. You're having fun. It should feel like when it's over, you go, is that it? Wait, I was having so much fun. If you can't say that I was having so much fun by the end of your audition, something's not right.
Yeah. I just saw there's a question. Someone, Maya Bodnick, wants to know, can you tell them a little about a college dance audition? Like how they can prep for that?
Yeah. So certainly I think the first thing is since a college dance audition, you're not going to know the combination, the best thing that you can do is to get familiar with dance technique and vocabulary, which means get into class. The best thing that you can be doing from a dance audition for college is to be used to the format and the environment of having people around you. I think the dance auditions can sometimes be the most difficult because you have your peers in the room with you. It's not like the monologues and the songs where there's the intimacy of just you and the panel of people. So it's hard to take what you do have to do from a technical standpoint of executing the combination that's given to you, but then you also have to effectively navigate what is going around you with your peers. So if you haven't been in class, you can make the argument that it's likely you'll be a fish out of water.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I mean, that's hard. I know as a professional, if I haven't been in class and suddenly I've got this big Broadway audition, and in fact, this kind of happened to me where I had an appointment for Shuffle Along on Broadway, and it was a big tap show, and I hadn't been tapping. So I immediately got into some class before the audition. There was an example of cramming. That wasn't really the way to do it. The way to do it is to consistently take it, even if it isn't 4 times a week. But if I'm doing it once a month even is a lot better than like never for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So for students that, you guys are now in this structured time with school, apply it to your training. And then all of a sudden you have that audition where it feels like it happened overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It happened because you were setting the map, the foundation for yourself. And so to have an effective dance audition, that's really the way it is. And also just realize you're not judged. It's not negative that you don't execute the combination 10 out of 10. They're not looking for that.
That's you can tell me if this is good advice or bad.
Yeah.
Because I often get like the singers and actors in town that are like, I need to be strong in my dance audition. And I was like, we're not going to get you to like a super high level in the next 6 months.
Right.
But what I think that you can do is take your skills from your acting and your singing and use your breath and use your character building in those combinations you get and still stand out without having high kicks and triple pirouettes.
Oh, 100%. And if anything, if there is a triple pirouette, I bet you any money a lot of that is also how do you dance the triple? Meaning that are you dancing that triple with this ego of like, see, I do triples, and there's like an arrogance to it? Or do you actually know how to fuel how to put together the technique you have for a triple? And also, if you fall out of the triple, how do you react to that?
Yeah.
Do you become bent out of shape, like, oh God, I suck, I'm terrible at this, when do we get to sing? That shows them, right? It's like that shows a resistance that then makes them go, do I want to work with that person?
Yeah.
I don't know. This person seems to be so frustrated with themselves. That's going to be like a lot of walls to break through. So as opposed to the person who's just the go-getter that's like, here I go, I'm going for it. And if I fall out of it, who cares? I went for it. That shows a lot in your character, and that's someone who they would or necessarily wouldn't want to have in class if you go about it in like a yucky way.
We have a student named Colin. He asked a question on Facebook. He asked a question. It's more related to dance school auditions, but he said, how do you know the difference between to choose programs if you're interested in becoming a dance educator versus a performer?
That's a great question. So for anything with performance, there's of course musical theater as a track, which is going to give you, of course, the scope of singing, dancing, and acting. There are dance majors that a lot of people will apply for where the majority of your work is performing, but there's built-in curriculum as far as dance education too, where those dancers have the perspective want for a future to teach too, or to own a company or own a studio. There are a lot of people like that. And there are education minors, dance education. There are select special kind of majors that exist at schools too. I always talk to actors too about if they're into casting or if they're into directing. There are select schools that can start to kind of broaden the net where you don't have to only do music theater or only do dance. BA programs have a really
what are those programs? Do you want to
yeah, there's a big difference. A BFA is a Bachelor of Fine Arts. A BA is a Bachelor of Arts. When you have a BA, what's beautiful about it is there's a flexibility to you creating the kind of schedule and creating the kind of life you want to have, where you're selecting a lot of the classes and you can determine how much you're doing in any one area. So for people who want a minor or for people who want to double major, that's where that track can be really effective. Sometimes a lot of high school kids will come at me with, well, BAs are not as good. I don't really know where that rumor started. I think it's just that they hear of a lot of big, competitive, rigorous conservatory BFAs or a BFA liberal arts school, and they think that then all the success lies in the BFA. It's really not about that. It's about what you put in for the 4 years you're at school and what kind of 4 years do you want to have. You know, when you graduate, it's all about the hustle and the hustler mentality of what do you do moving forward to, you know, forward your career and how aggressive you go.
And how do you direct your students that you're coaching to know what kind of program is right for them? Because everybody knows the top programs like Michigan and, you know, Juilliard and NYU, but not all those programs are the right program for every aspiring performer.
Yeah. When I work with students, I sit down with them for an hour. It's called the initial consultation with the student and usually their parent. And we really talk about what are your goals? What are your artistic goals? What are your college life goals? What are your geographic goals? I mean, the beautiful part about 2020 is that there are so many competitive programs throughout the United States, even more in the country. I mean, a lot of my students will also head out to Europe, London, Scotland. There's so many great programs. So the reality is it's our job with my team, Musical Theater College Auditions, to feel like you are finding and selecting schools to make a list that best supports your goals. Not because you hear about a program and go, oh, it's really great, I automatically have to have it on my list. That actually isn't the case anymore. There are so many competitive programs. Yeah. You never have to feel like you're putting a school on the list because it's amazing, you know? So I think it starts a lot. You can start even without MTCA. There's a lot, of course, available to you on those websites. I always, you know, students know homework with their academics. They have to apply homework to their, you know, their college research too.
This is Molly had a question kind of on
go
that
Molly.
topic. Molly, do you want to ask one of your questions about like grades and stuff?
Yeah. Do you have to have good grades in theater school to be on Broadway, or? Yeah.
Well, in general, take the Broadway out of it. If you want to just go to school and it's an academic school, a liberal arts school, you do. There are a lot of schools that will have GPA minimums, or they'll have, you know, certain SAT, ACT minimums that you have to meet. So if you want to be in an academic environment, then yes, you want to make sure you're continuing to keep a watch on your academics throughout your high school years. And also from a standpoint of a conservatory that they're not as rigorous or strict about your grades, then it's not as necessary in order to attend a conservatory. But then for that second part, Molly, of like just going to Broadway, there's no one formula to being on Broadway. That's the funny thing. It doesn't have to be a BFA liberal art. It doesn't have to be a conservatory. It could be a BA. You know, you could be an English major. You know, Meryl Streep was an undergraduate BA major at Vassar. She wasn't studying musical theater at undergrad. She went on to, of course, do Yale School of Drama for her graduate work. But, you know, it's, again, if you interviewed her, I bet you she wouldn't only talk about her graduate work. I bet you she would also talk about being at Vassar. You know what I'm talking about? So there's so many tracks. There's no one formula.
Is it almost necessary to go to that post-secondary training at this point, though, to really have a career?
No, I don't think that. I think that sometimes that post-secondary training is important if there's a significant transition to what you really want to do. Maybe an undergraduate acting major now really wants the directing track, or they want the arts management business track, you know. But no, I know a lot of people that certainly go through the undergraduate 4 years, successfully start to work and feel like they can sustain a career. I am a big believer that if you want to sustain a career in the performing arts, when you can go through 4 years of training, it's significant to setting the foundation of how to be a surviving, you know, working artist. It doesn't mean you have to do it. So certainly when I meet families that are really low on income or don't feel like that they can afford a 4-year program, it is not to say that your future is doomed. There are absolutely beautiful ways to fulfill 2 years of training in programs. There are certificate programs where it places you in New York, in Los Angeles, where you're still immersing yourself with other you know, competitive talent that surrounds you. That is going to make you better. So certainly it's not to say that people who don't have the money for a 4-year don't have the career ahead of them. It's just you have to take a different path to getting there. But isn't that the beautiful part? Unlike other degrees or other jobs where you have to be on a certain track to feel like there's an esteem to say, well, oh good, you went to Wharton, therefore with your business degree, now we will hire you at the following, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with theater, there's no one way.
It's so merit-based in terms of like what you can actually bring in the room.
Yeah.
More so than a lot of other careers, which I mean
Mm-hmm.
is good news, because I always worry about students who incur huge financial debts to become a professional actor.
Yeah.
It's really you have to have a lot of balls basically
Yeah.
to trust that you're going to be able to, take care of that debt eventually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's no question, that I don't like the whole idea of like, you don't get into the arts for money. I mean, no, well, of course not. You're getting into the arts because you love what you're doing. And no, this is not in general a profession that has money. Like, it's just not a funded, supported, but that doesn't mean you can't make money doing what you love.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't agree with. It's about you identifying what it is that you do love. The same way that it was hard in the beginning. I mean, a lot of people would, kind of counter and say, oh, I don't know about that coaching, Leo. It looks like you have 1 foot out the door with your performing. It would really hurt me, because I would think to myself, but I love both. Why can't I do both? But then I realized, all right, Leo, you're going to have to keep defining your own path. While other people are going to judge it or maybe even criticize it, I had to keep remembering, well, but that feels authentic to me. So I had to kind of keep making it up as I go.
I think that's beautiful. I think that that's such a great outlook and such a good thing for young people to hear, because that is a thing that you can get caught up in. If people see you doing something outside of the world of that theater direction that you did in college, I just remember that from when I graduated, and there was people who would branch off and do other things. And I thought, oh, they're never going to make it, or everyone kind of thought that, but then they kind of meandered in and out, and they're the ones that are still doing it because they were feeding themselves with more than just the audition track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
exactly.
think that's super healthy.
Yeah, it's just, and I really find that so many areas of the arts just makes the counter areas of the arts just more successful. So like for all artists out there, if you do web design, if you want to direct, if you want to choreograph, if you want to, if you love calligraphy or photography, you know what I mean? Like, these are areas that, like, if you can wear multiple hats, you can find the balance. It doesn't mean that you're like not successful in the one you started out with. What if you start out knowing that there are multiple areas? There isn't anything wrong with that. I feel like the colleges are good about that. They're getting a lot better. In the beginning, when I started doing college prep, I felt like they were behind in not recognizing like that is a good thing. You need to help support your students while they're in college, as opposed to only saying, okay, here you go, you're a music theater major, all music theater. Like, I don't feel like that's necessarily driven home the same way. I think there's better balance to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe we could switch gears here a little bit, and you can just tell us about your most recent Broadway contract experience? I think that's kind of an interesting position, not one that people think of as like a Broadway job.
Right. A year ago, right around this time, a little bit over a year ago, I closed School of Rock on Broadway. School of Rock was awesome. It was, of course, Andrew Lloyd Webber. It was based on the movie. So if you know the movie and you didn't see it, it's just like the movie. The show was really good at capturing all of the sentiment that you would experience with the movie, but in the musical. And it was awesome because I loved the cast. I was a vacation cover. I covered about, what did I cover? 10 tracks, I think, including 4 women tracks. 4 or 3? 3. God,
so is this the same as being a swing, or is this a
same kind of thing? Same kind of thing?
Okay.
Yep. And the idea is that there are multiple tracks that I would cover and go on when needed. So because I was a vacation swing, I wasn't there all the time. So I was there for like 3 months, then I would leave for 3 weeks, then I'd come back for 2 weeks, then I'd leave for 2 months, then I'd come back for. So it was really cool. I never was sick of the job. I always loved it.
So you didn't have to like check in every show. You weren't covering like emergency.
I was always there when I was hired to be there. So I was checking in all the time, but my contracts kept starting, stopping when they would need me.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was basically in and out of the company consistently for about a year and a half.
Wow, that's really cool.
More there than not there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was fun. We were at the Winter Garden. I mean, the Winter Garden is the best. It's just like, it's got such history, and it was super fun. It was a great show to do. Yeah. And there was something very fulfilling artistically that I didn't know. When I booked the show, I just thought, oh, this is great. This is my 3rd Broadway show. This is awesome. I didn't realize, oh, wait, actually, I'm wearing the hoodie today. I didn't even realize that.
Nice.
But yeah, it was so fulfilling artistically. Like, I just didn't know that part of my career or from that show I would experience. But there was it was the kids. Like it was, how old are you? Molly, are you?
I'm 11.
That's School of Rock age.
Yeah.
It was like those, we had like 9-year-olds.
That was your other question, Molly. Do you
Yeah.
want to ask your other question?
Sure. Is there a certain age you have to be on Broadway? And if there is, what is it?
No. Though Broadway has a lot of young people in their 20s. 20s, it does, as you get older, there's definitely less people. It is a young person's business for sure. But all ages, it really just depends on the shows, you know? So you can always be on Broadway at any age.
So the kids that were in School of Rock, were they 8 shows a week, those little kids? Or were there split casts?
8 shows a week. There were no,
Dang.
they had swings too.
Yeah.
There were swings too. There were 4 swings. There were 2 male kid swings and 2 female.
That's epic for a little kid to be a swing,
those
to have
kids,
to know those tracks.
They were the heart and the integrity of the whole show. They were the stars of the show.
Props to those little kids. I don't even think I could be a swing. That's too much stress for me.
I mean, the good thing about them doing every show is that's what made them so much better at doing it, because there weren't the A cast and the B cast.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they could call out just like the professionals. Well, they were professionals, but just like the adults could.
The adults, yeah.
Yeah, the adults. But it was great.
Cool.
I mean, they were awesome. I mean, I love those kids. They kept it real. You know, there was no ego. They were doing their thing. They were kids.
Did they have like a tutor? They obviously didn't go to school.
There was tutoring. There was, of course, wranglers where they were backstage that would help.
Right, because I'm sure the parents weren't allowed backstage.
No, they were not. The parents were at the stage door, and no, they were not allowed backstage.
They'd high five at the door, and
and there would be so many of them too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But they were awesome. They were
That's cool.
It was so sad when they would get too old. They would get too tall.
Yeah, that's tough.
How
did that work? So like, was it in their? Do you know, like, or like when it was time for renewal, they were just like, sorry, you grew 4 inches this contract.
Yes, management had it in their control that if there was ever a height getting too tall or a voice was changing, you can get the boot.
God.
I know.
My heart is breaking just thinking about that.
I know. It ripped my heart out too. And the hard part is of course, in defense to the creative team, and then of course the dance captains and the stage managers, it wasn't helpful from an organizational standpoint to only turn over 2 kids at once. So they would start to turn over 5 or 6 at a time.
Yeah, true, because you don't want to just put someone in and have to start all over again. So.
Right. And then you have a group of kids that you're learning it with, and then they have an easier time going, well, if we're going to do a put-in, let's do a put-in with 6 people, not 2 people. Yeah. It was hard. I mean, it was hard because sometimes people were told, like, okay, you're done. And it's like, but I haven't grown yet. Well, you're starting to. So it's like, you're starting to look old.
Oh, God. Sorry, Molly, I stabbed you. Somebody had asked the question earlier. Do you have any tips for learning lines?
Oh, I like that. Do I have tips for learning lines? Well, I would say emotionally know why you're saying it. Like, what is the purpose in saying your line? So, like, when you've worked through a lot of, and this is stuff I do with teenagers all the time too, when you look at stuff like, you know, a scene or a monologue or even just a song, even your songs too, to break down why you're saying what you're saying, who you're singing to, who you're speaking to, that will help you memorize, because then you're putting meaning behind what you're saying, as opposed to just treating it like, let me recite the text, like, hi, my name is Leo, how are you? Hi, my name is Leo, how are you? As opposed to just saying it over and over again. Anybody can do that, right? But the good actors are the ones that understand why they're saying what they're saying.
That's good. Cool. I think there's one more question right here, maybe.
Yeah.
Any funny or crazy audition stories?
Ooh.
That's for my husband, Andrew.
That's a good one. Any funny or crazy audition stories? Well, yeah, I would say it was kind of crazy in that it was like painful and that it was what it is. I was doing an audition for Wonderful Town on Broadway. It was a replacement call. Kathleen Marshall was running the audition. She was the choreographer of the show. And we were doing this little jeté, just like a little bit right over to the right. I can like just visualize myself doing it. And I did it and I landed, and it was just a small one. And I went, ow, my ankle. Like, it just felt like I just landed on my foot funny. As we kept dancing, I was like, God, my ankle, my foot is really hurting. We get to the time to do it in groups. And she was saying, you guys are really getting it, but like, you need to dance with a little bit more angst. I'm not getting the angst. And I'm thinking, girl, I am in so much friggin' pain right now. I'll give you angst. Right? So there I am, like, dancing the combination, even in more pain. We get outside, then we're done, right? And I take my shoe off, and there it looks like there's a golf ball coming out of the side of my foot. long story short, I had broken my 5th metatarsal and I broke my foot.
Stress
And
factor.
yeah, right. And it just was, I mean, I didn't go right to the hospital. A lot of people told me, well, you know, see how it is in a couple hours. Within like 4 hours, I was there. And they hadn't even x-rayed my foot and they already said, yep, you broke your foot. You know, right. He just knew.
Like, oh!
He's like, that's the 5th metatarsal. And I'm like, how do you know? You got to take an x-ray. You know, I was like, you don't know.
I just had an audition. It can't be broken.
Yeah. But, you know, it's funny. Everyone would say things to me like, well, Leo, everything happens for a reason. And I'd be like, what? No, don't tell me that. Just tell me, tell me this sucks. I just broke my foot. Like, you know what I mean? So it's funny when things like that happen, I always tell people just, you know, meet them where they are. Tell them it sucks that it happened, not, hey, look on the bright side.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like there's no bright side. I can't say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about for our last question?
Yeah.
Can you tell us think of like a surprising quality that's going to help kids get into a theater program? Like other than your skills and, you know, being open to learning, like something that you don't maybe think of that would help you with your audition.
I think, first of all, from the technical standpoint, the versatility. So the more competitive you can be in multiple areas, the better. But the bigger thing is authenticity. It's the number one thing. So many students spend so much wasted time and energy trying to figure out what the schools want. You don't know what they want. You let them do their job. You do yours, which is to be as authentically yourself while doing those songs and monologues and dance combinations. The more authentic you are, the better chance you have of them also seeing a spark in the same way that you see a spark in them, and there lies the marriage, right? The connection, the partnership. Yeah. You're not going to know who you're going to connect with, but boy, you are increasing probability of success if you're just authentically you. They feel that. So you don't see authenticity, you feel it. So if you are really you as you do those songs and monologues and you're enjoying yourself, they will feel it. It doesn't mean they're going to agree to say you're right for us, but they will recognize authenticity always. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one, I think, for teens, because
I know
you're trying to fit yourself into a box, but the best answer is to not try to fit in the box and wait for the right box.
Yeah, and right, exactly. It's hard, and you don't know who you are. You're still developing. So I guess what I should say is be as close to yourself as you possibly know. You know, what do you connect with? But like when you're selecting songs and monologues, you gotta love them. You gotta love what you're doing, because then you're successful in kind of opening up a little part of you that you're sharing with the room.
Yeah.
That's
beautiful. Thank you so much
for
sharing your time. I feel like that was a really interesting chat, and I feel like awesome for our students to be able to have this kind of exposure and opportunity just to hear you chat. You're so knowledgeable.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for asking me and inviting me. And if any of them want to ask questions, they sure can. They have my IG. Yep. Awesome.
Thanks so much, Leo.
Yeah, you bet. It was good to meet you, Molly.
Good to meet you too.
Okay, all right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.